Welcome back to another video then, and today we are looking at the HelloRadio V14 Max. Now, love this radio. As you've seen in quite a few recent videos, I've been using it loads. However, there's been a couple of things that I've really wanted to improve on it. So I had a chat with Ken over there at HelloRadio and I said, Ken, I need an OLED screen and I need a clear case. Ken very kindly obliged. And here is the clear case for the HelloRadio V14 Max, as it will become anyway. And in here we've got all sorts of peripherals. We've got the buttons, the clear grips for the back, and in here we have the OLED screen. Now, I'm hoping and I'm guessing and I'm praying that it's just going to slot in and life's going to be really easy. And yeah, it's probably not going to be easy. But there are no instructions for this. But the buttons are there. So yeah, I'm going to guess that's roughly how it's going to go in. So it should be fairly simple. How it actually attaches to the radio and how the rest of the work is done, I have absolutely no idea whatsoever, because there are no instructions for this. This is not like an official upgrade path, I don't think. I just said, send me one, and confidently I said, I'll just make a video of it. So let's get started, because I've got no idea what I'm doing. Okay, so we have had this open at the start of the year, and we know we need to remove all the parts at the back, and then we've got a few screws dotted around, which I think are 2mm. I think. Indeed they are. So just be careful laying on its front. Obviously you've got your stick still in there. Just take out these screws. So you should have 2 at the side, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And it should be as simple as that. We're going to need to keep these screws because the upgrade doesn't come with screws. As I say, I don't think it's an official upgrade path. I think it's just me complaining and whinging and Ken being like, I'll send anyone to shut him up. So, once we've got here, we need to unplug these here. And we can put that to one side. Now we have got the main part of the radio here, and we're just going to need to have a look at what we're going to take off and how. I'm hoping, beyond all hope, we can do it relatively easily, but I'm not convinced it's going to be that easy. And at this point in time, I am sat here questioning myself, saying to myself, why, you idiot, did you suggest doing such a thing? However, this channel wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for me being an idiot, so let's go for it. What I don't appear to have is a good quality screwdriver. I've got good quality hex drivers. What I don't have is a good quality screwdriver, which is very annoying. Especially when I throw it on the floor. There will be times when I'm just unscrewing things that I am going to fast forward this video because I'm sure you're all able and know how to unscrew a screw. But obviously once we get into the important things, we'll discuss it and slow it down a little bit. I am fairly sure as well at this juncture, once we get the hardware installed, that we are going to have to look at changing the firmware on this, because I've noticed on HelloRadio's website we've got a firmware for the LCD and a firmware for the OLED. So we will obviously go through that process on here as well. So your antenna is there, so just be very careful with that. Because that will be very, very delicate. And that's your ELRS module. Very nice. So looking now, I need to remove these two plugs here. And it should, famous last words, be just a case now of these two screws, I think. And this whole thing should lift up. Now you're going to have to be very careful because the screen will be attached with a ribbon cable. That's not specifically a HelloRadio thing, that's just a how screens get attached. I hope you're paying attention to where the screws go, by the way, because I'm not. Okay, there's another couple of screws under here. No, that's not for them. What we have to do now is we have to remove, just going to take those out, just for when this does pop out. So be careful pulling the wires on things like this because these are super delicate. I'm looking, and I'm not seeing anything else. So it should now just be a case of getting these unscrewed. Can do. Now, for some reason, the main board isn't coming out yet, so we'll just take everything else out, and there'll be something that I've missed, I'm sure. See these. Well, we've come to the part now where we're looking at now replacing the screen. So we've got this all apart. It's just pull out once you've got that last screw out. Pull it all out. Make sure that you take obviously all the wires out of the speaker, etc. And then we need to look at the screen, which is going to be, I'm hoping, looking at this, a bit of a drop-in replacement. Now we've got a few things on the back here, which looks like these sort of clips which will release the screen here. So if we just push those in, that should free this screen up. Okay, and hopefully it's going to be as easy as, hopefully you can see that, as just replacing this cable here And we don't appear on this screen to also have a power connector. Let me have a look at the back of this just to make sure, because I'd hate to put it in and find out that that needs to go in as well. So we'll just release this. So we'll just check the back of this to make sure that power cam, because I'm going to assume that that is going to need to go in here. But no, it doesn't. So we can put that back down to the sticky tape and we can move on with installing it. And it should be relatively simple. It should just be a case of putting this cable into here, which may be a bit difficult to demonstrate on camera, but I'll try my very best. Or, in fact, is this the same cable? Does this want to go in at the bottom? No, it's the same. And just remembering how that came out. Yep. To make sure this goes in fully before we put the whole thing back together and find out that it's not in. Then it should just be a case. Oh, we've actually put it in upside down. Interesting, so if that goes that way. Yes, silly me. Silly me. That would have been a bit of a nightmare trying to work out what I'd done wrong there, wouldn't it? I don't like ribbon cables. But for stuff like this, they are a necessity, or necessary evil. It is just what it is for something like this, I'm afraid. Then it's just a case of putting these prongs, or it should just be a case of putting these prongs back into these holes here. Okay, that should be the screen now installed, and now I think what we're going to have to do is power on the LCD first, then flash the new version of the OLED firmware, and then after we've done that, let me move my can of Monster out of the way so that you can actually see this. So we're going to have to grab the scroll wheel, and we want to go to Write Firmware, and it's going to ask me which one, and we're looking for the OLED one. And this should now, there we go, flash the OLED firmware, and then it's a case of taking it apart and putting the OLED in, and we should then be good to go. Yeah, so obviously the LCD is no longer working properly. So we've now got the OLED screen working. Right, so let's unplug it, get it all put back together, and we've now obviously got the mammoth task of getting everything put back in the right place, which is going to be a challenge within itself. And then after that, we need to make sure that everything actually still works as well, which is also going to be a task within itself. And just thinking about it, you may not be able to see it, but there is, just tilt this camera back a little bit so we've got a little bit more of a, yeah. Actually tilt it up a little bit. There we go. So the desk is obviously a mess, but it's because we're in the middle of a project. So there is our old screen, our old LCD screen, and we've now got an OLED screen. We need to just change the refresh rate on the camera so you can see it better, but obviously we've got all the lights on and stuff, so we'll do that later. But we can now get rid of the LCD screen. We can put that to one side with the other case. We're going to put this in properly, and then we're going to rebuild it up using this clear case. This should look really, really nice with all this now. So let's unplug it and carry on our build. So looking at this screen here, and looking at this here, so this doesn't actually go over the screen, does it? This goes on the inside of the case, does it? No. Ideally this would have been fitted in the factory, but like I say, it's not an official upgrade path, this. Maybe after this video people will want to do it, and HelloRadio will provide a package for it, but I did think when I was putting the screen cover on, I thought, but I didn't see these screws, so let's get this off very gently. Try not to scratch anything. And then just so carefully push this out, because we've seen the other one's been bent and snapped already. Now actually what I'm going to do, this lifts up halfway. I'm just going to cheekily slide this in because I don't want to damage anything. There we go. So which way up does that screen go again? So it's the thicker part to the top. Yeah. Hopefully it goes together a bit better this time. I'm not going to pretend that this has been easy. It's relatively straightforward. But I wouldn't say it's easy. So it's straightforward in the fact of you are literally just unscrewing some things and then screwing them back in. Replacing a screen, replacing a case, and away you go. If you want to just replace the screen, that's actually quite an easy process. Yeah, that's not a difficult process, isn't it, replacing just the screen? But again, now we've got it back together, that feels a lot, yeah, that feels much better. Let's, again, just test it. And this is what I would recommend. No SD card, it's probably just falling out at the bottom. Oh, actually, I heard something ping. I wonder if that's what pinged. So we've had a little bit of progress since you've been away, and I've only just noticed that you guys have been away because my camera battery died. Where are we? Well, let's have a look. Now, putting this all back together is pretty much reverse of the start of this video, so it's not essential that I sort of go back and cover it all, but we are just going to have a quick chat about where we're actually up to. And then we're going to do something that ultimately you may want to watch. So I've managed to realise that we had a problem with the camera, and yes. Right, so this is where we're up to with the HelloRadio, and we'll go through, in fact I've not got the battery plugged in, but we'll go through the setup and everything, because it's going to be in Chinese when you first load it up, because again I've done all that, but we can talk about it, it's not a problem. But when you first load it up, it's going to be in Chinese because you were going to have flashed the OLED firmware, which is fine. We can change all that, not a problem. Then you're going to need to calibrate your sticks and everything. Again, not a problem. We can show you how to do all that. And then we are pretty much now in the end stages. So there's a couple of things that we're going to have to do. If we just pop this down very carefully. Again, I haven't done anything in here that I hadn't done when taking the original case apart. We're at now the stage where we've got these switches on the back here, and these need to be removed. Now, Radiomaster do have a special tool to remove these nuts. Let me just make sure I put them in the right ones and the right way up. And that just saves any calibration problems that you may have later on. And all you do is literally just unscrew the nut, slide it in like that. There we go. Remember where you've put that nut, and then just screw it back in. Now I'm using a pair of pliers, which have unfortunately marked these. But like I say, Radiomaster do actually do a specific tool just to remove these. So if you're doing this and you're not replacing these, you can get all sorts of anodized different coloured ones of these. So you know, if you're gonna do this to pimp it out, then you might want to replace these anyway, to be fair. So again, just slide it out, slide it straight back in exactly the same position, so that you're not dealing with any calibration issues of it being the wrong way around, so that you don't get switch warnings. And then I think we are pretty much done. So what we'll do is we'll plug these switches in, we'll make sure they're the right way around and everything, and then we'll have a look at what we would do next when it comes to dropping it. So just make sure that these go in the right way around. So he's putting it in the wrong way around. Okay, and then what we can do here now is we can just gently sort of slide this into position. Make sure that no wires are being nicked, clipped or cut or anything of that nature. Everything looks like it's fit. Oh, I was going to say everything looks like it's fitting okay, but we do seem to have a bit of a problem. This is why. So just slide those wires back in. So it looks like the gremlins are in today in the studio. So I'm sorry again if that's cut off. Let me try and just reorganize things a little bit. I'm going to try and get through this as quick as I can. Just to try and make sure that we don't lose anything this time. Okay, so we've put the screws in and everything's together now. Obviously all we need to do is put the sides on and the battery case on and we're done. And this, but we'll worry about this in a second. I'm more concerned now about making sure that I finish the process for you guys. So the next job you're going to want to do is grab a hold of your battery pack, plug it in. Again, making sure you don't nick any wires. And then you're going to want to turn it on. And I'm going to do it at an angle. So hopefully you can see it without too much of a problem. Now, like I say, first things first is it's going to be in Chinese. So you're going to press system and then you're going to go across to radio setup. Hopefully you can see that. I apologize for the flickering, but I'm just going to try and get this done as quick as I can now. Scroll down to language, which is here. Voice language is in English. When you first load it up, it's going to be set to Chinese. So just change that to English, and that's done. So when it boots up now, it will say, obviously, HTX. The other thing that you need to do before you do anything else now is go to, again, your system, go to hardware, so page 6, and hit calibration. Now, can I put this down? Can you see this if I put it down? If I move it over there, there's not too much glare on it. So what you need to do is set to the midpoint, and then just gently move the sticks, and then gently move them around. Don't force them into the corners, just gently. Then you also need to press your 6 position button to make sure that each position is recognized and registered, and the same for these as well. Now for some reason that's not going all the way down. Maybe it doesn't, I don't know. I don't actually use them, but I assume when you're in the midpoint there, I don't know. I never use them. And that's it, we're done. So if we hold return now, and we have a look at this, so we've got SB is this one, SA is this one, SD is that one, that should be SC, SF, and SE. So you're done. It's all set up and it's ready to go and ready to fly. And I think we'll all agree, doesn't it look stunning? Doesn't it look absolutely unreal? Hello, radio.
Hello.
You're looking good today. Oh well, maybe soon we can have a conversation with it like that. But this OLED screen really does improve it. I love the ergonomics of this radio. It feels just, for my hands, just a little bit better than the Boxer. It just seems to fit that much better in my hands. And now we've got this clear case. Obviously, that's going to stand out even more. And of course, let's not forget the fact that we've got that OLED screen as well. We've also got the RD90 gimbals in here. This is now a fully tricked out. Hello, radio. Hello, radio.
Hello.
V14 Max. RD90s, I love them. I think they are, if I'm honest, equal to the AGO ones in Radio Master, if not slightly better. Why I've been flying this controller more than any other recently. It's because obviously I knew that it was coming, so the parts were coming, so I was just getting used to it again. But also everything just sits there. These gimbals are amazing. They really are. Is this the best controller I own? I don't know. I'm going to have to revisit that video at some point, aren't I? Anyway, in the meantime, I'm just going to put the rest of the bits on this. You guys won't struggle with that. It's just a case of putting these bits on the sides for your ergonomics. And then the other thing is fitting the back to your JR bay. So again, you guys are not going to struggle with that. But you're going to see lots and lots of videos on the channel of this, because it just, like I say, I'm not saying it's the best. It doesn't have a colour touchscreen at the end of the day, but it fits my hand perfectly. And with the upgrades that we've made to it today, I can't see me using anything else for a while. The only thing that I'd like HelloRadio to do next, and I have turned it off thankfully, is to drop a model with Gemini. I think that undoubtedly sort of brings them to the fore. But that has been the HelloRadio V14 Max upgrade. We've upgraded to the OLED screen. We've upgraded to a clear case. Let me know in the comments down below, do you prefer this look or do you prefer the black case that it originally came with? Please tell me that's in focus. Let me know if you preferred the black case that it came with, or if you preferred this clear case. I think we can all agree that the OLED screen is a massive improvement. And if you've ever had a chance to use one of these, what do you think of the RD90s versus the AG01s? As always, I'm going to be down in the comments section chatting to you guys. I reply to all comments. I love chatting with you guys, so please do drop a comment down below. I'll probably feature it in the next community spotlight as well. Peace out.